I feel some responsibility here to comment on this phenomenon, this show that came out of nowhere on Netflix to become this huge hit that everybody's talking about and everybody's saying, "Have you seen it?" And so forth. And that's Squid Game. Now, I first had this show recommended to me by my daughter. And it's my daughter who also first introduced me to Incel Core via Negative XP. She told me about the famous song of his about the movie that ruined a whole generation of women. So that was my gateway to Incel Core, and I have my daughter to thank for that. Although I maybe would have discovered it on my own, and maybe I would have found Squid Game on my own too. But it was my daughter's recommendation that really got me there. Now, at first, I was kind of when I watched part of the first episode, and I thought, this is kind of annoying. This guy, I think there's a cultural thing, probably an Asian thing, I'm guessing, where certain characters just overact. They overreact to things. They get all upset and they bounce off the walls and the main actor does this a few times in the show, and especially in the first episode. And there are a couple other actors who also just behave in this way on occasion in the show. And it's supposed to be, when it happens, it's supposed to be funny, or it's supposed to be moving or something. But to me, it's just kind of annoying. But that's a minor thing, I should say. It was at first deterring me, because when it was showing up in the first episode, I was sort of thinking, this guy's spazzing out too much for me. Bring it back a little. But then there are other actors on the show who are nothing but restrained and stoic in their manner. So I guess that's one of those Asian paradoxes. So what can I say about Squid Game? The more I watched it, the more nostalgic I felt, because it put me in mind of a show that I loved as a little kid, a show that was called Space Giants. This was, I believe, a Japanese show, and it didn't have anything near the budget of Squid Game. It was very very low budget, very cheesy. It's something that I enjoyed at age 9 and 10, but now I think I would have a hard time. I would have to say, man, this is pretty bad. I would imagine if I watched it today, I would think it was really terrible. But it had this kind of appeal to it, or there was something in the pacing of it. And again, not just the fact that it's Asian, although maybe there's something cultural there that is resonant. Although I know there's a difference between Japan and Korea. You don't have to lecture me on that. But there's a certain vibe that it gives off. Being a sci-fi kind of oriented show, and there's something about the use of color as well. Like these are little things that catch my attention in the show, which I think is a really well-made show and thought-provoking. And I probably will have more to say about it at some point, but I want to chew it over and digest it first. There are all of these like popping. I don't usually like to use that word, but these kind of bright colors that pop out at you. These like pastels. Everything is pink or bright green. The soldiers wearing their magenta uniforms, which are quite sinister looking, and all of the emphasis on masking is definitely very relevant. Unfortunately, alas, the fact that you don't see anybody's face who's not a participant in the game itself. For those who don't know about the show, it's it's sort of a little bit like Hunger Games in a way, but I would say much more brutal. Although I didn't find it like particularly disturbingly brutal. I thought I thought the brutality had a certain camp quality to it, even though it was not low budget. It was not it was not fakey looking or anything like that, but it was so over the top in a lot of ways that I didn't really it wasn't difficult to watch or anything like that. Even though just about everybody dies. Spoiler alert! Just about everybody that you meet in the show ends up dying, and some of them aren't that great people. Or you don't really mind seeing them die. Others are. It's a little bit more. It's much more difficult to watch them die because they're nice or they're generally good or they seem sympathetic. But the show is about how people who are down on their luck in one way or another, and often it's because of debt. This is a really interesting thing. It seems that I heard somewhere that South Korea is a very debt-oriented. There's a lot of people in a lot of debt in that country. Of course, that applies to the United States as well. God knows. But people who have just gotten way over their head and who are on the outs of society and who are looked on by others as losers or deadweight or whatever, they get enticed to be part of this game where there's a huge cash prize if you win. What they aren't told from the beginning is that basically there's only one winner, and that if you don't win, you die. And so they're all brought to this secret location and forced to play a series of games, and they don't ever know which game is coming next. And so the first game is red light, green light, which everybody knows. That seems to be a game that transcends cultures. But in this one, if you move improperly when they say red light, you're not just out, you're dead. And so that sort of sets the tone for the rest of the thing. The players are given a chance to opt out after that first game, and they choose to, but then a lot of them choose to go back because their lives in the real world aren't very fulfilling, and the police, the authorities don't believe them. They hear their fantastic stories, and they think you're just this loser who's in debt and who's a laughingstock to everybody. So why should we believe you this fantastic story that you were taken into a vehicle and put under ether and then taken to this mysterious island where you were forced to take part in these murderous games? There are certain things that definitely catch one's eye that seem like a nod to call it the Illuminati or what have you. There's a segment in which Western elites are brought in to spectate, and they're all just these slimy, degenerate, sexually perverse men, and they're all wearing these Illuminati style masks, which recall the movie Eyes Wide Shut, or which in itself recalls the Rothschild gatherings that the famous photographs of, like deer antlers for a mask, or not just deer antlers, but a deer head with antlers and so forth. So that's pretty interesting. There's also some art on the wall that couldn't help but make me think of a certain Comet Pizza Ping Pong. And I wonder if that was intentional. There's a scene where one of the degenerate Westerners is trying to have his way with one of the help, and he takes him into this side room, and there's all this colorful art splattered on the wall. And if you remember back from 2016, the pictures that were on the wall of the guy, the people with their decapitated heads carrying their heads, and all this gross and perverse kind of stuff at this family pizzeria that was Comet Ping Pong. So lots of interesting stuff to chew over. I definitely recommend it if you have a high tolerance for gore, which there is a lot of. But again, to me, the gore wasn't really all that upsetting, just because it was there's a certain campy quality, I think, to the show that prevents it from being too disturbing. But certainly the entire theme of the story is very disturbing, and I think, unfortunately, very relevant, where we see those whom the elite view as genetic refuse, as lives unworthy of life, as useless eaters. They're all clawing one another, clawing to win this cash prize, while the elite look on and are entertained. Definitely some disturbing parallels there, I would say, to anyone who's paying attention to what's going on today. Plus all the stuff with masks, how none of the bad guys, none of the people running the game are ever seen, or rarely are they seen. So these are my preliminary thoughts on Squid Game. Let me know if you've seen it, if you have any thoughts, and I probably will return to this subject at some point in the future, but I felt, again, some kind of responsibility to comment on it, given that it's thematically very much in my wheelhouse, for this channel. So that's it. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below if you care to. My name is Andy Nowicki. Check out my work at altrightnovelist.com. My latest book, The Insurrectionist, can be found at terrorhousepress.com.